Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 80, text number 14. Yācitvā caturo muṣṭīn viprān pṛthuka-taṇḍulān caila-khaṇḍena taṇ baddhvā bhartre prādād upāyanam yācitvā caturo muṣṭīn viprān pṛthuka-taṇḍulān caila-khaṇḍena taṇ baddhvā bhartre prādād upāyanam yācitvā caturo muṣṭīn viprān pṛthuka-taṇḍulān caila-khaṇḍena taṇ baddhvā bhartre prādād upāyanam yācitvā caturo muṣṭīn viprān pṛthuka-taṇḍulān caila-khaṇḍena taṇ baddhvā bhartre prādād upāyanam yācitvā caturo muṣṭīn viprān pṛthuka-taṇḍulān caila-khaṇḍena taṇ baddhvā bhartre prādād upāyanam yācitvā caturo muṣṭīn viprān pṛthuka-taṇḍulān caila-khaṇḍena taṇ baddhvā bhartre prādād upāyanam. Ladies. Yācitvā caturo muṣṭīn viprān pṛthuka-taṇḍulān caila-khaṇḍena taṇ baddhvā bhartre prādād upāyanam yācitvā caturo muṣṭīn viprān pṛthuka-taṇḍulān caila-khaṇḍena taṇ baddhvā bhartre prādād upāyanam yācitvā caturo muṣṭīn viprān pṛthuka-taṇḍulān caila-khaṇḍena taṇ baddhvā bhartre prādād upāyanam yācitvā begging caturaḥ 4 muṣṭīn fistfuls viprān from the neighboring brāhmaṇas pṛthuka-taṇḍulān flat rice caila of cloth khaṇḍena with a ripped piece taṇ them baddvā tying up bhartre to her husband prādāt she gave upāyanam gift. Sudama's wife begged 4 handfuls of flat rice from neighboring brāhmanas, tied up the rice in a torn piece of cloth, and gave it to her husband as a present for Lord Krishna. Om Jnana Timidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurinmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jata Padakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Shahagana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Shadvaitam Shavadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Shahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vansha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Bhyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yācitvā caturo muṣṭīn viprān pṛthuka-taṇḍulān caila-khaṇḍena tan baddhvā bhartre prādād upāyanam. So the Brahman's wife gathered up caturo muṣṭīn, 4 handfuls of flat rice. Not much. Pṛthuka-taṇḍulān appears to mean poa, flat rice, which for me I think it's great, but it seems, the text seems to indicate that this is not a highly esteemed class of rice, it's just poa. And caila-khaṇḍena tan baddhvā, she wrapped up these 4 fistfuls of rice in a little guthrie, a little bundle, with some torn cloth, and gave it to her husband as a gift for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Satanādaya viprāgya prayayo dvarakam kila Krishna sandarshanam mahyam katam syaditi chintayan. Among other things, taking the flat rice, the saintly Brahmin set off for Dwarka, all the while wondering, how will I be able to have Krishna's audience? Purport. Among other things, Sudama assumed that the gatekeepers would stop him. So, chintayan, thinking, katam syaditi chintayam, Krishna sandarshanam mayam. How will it be possible for me to have darshan of Lord Krishna, who's reigning as the king of Dwarka? Probably I'll get stopped by the guards and prevented from entering. Or, I don't know, this is chinta. Chintam apadameyam cha pralayantam upashita. The demons have so many worries, but even the devotees have anticipatory anxieties. What if Krishna doesn't recognize me? What if I can't get past the guards? Who am I anyway, just a poor Brahmin, and Krishna's the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And there's so many people probably coming to take darshan of him, and there must be very important matters going on, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. In this way, thinking and thinking, chintayan. How will it be possible? How it will be possible? Chintayan. In this way, one thinks of, it won't be possible, it won't be possible. How will it be possible? How will it be possible? So he was thinking in that way. And he took with him this little bit of rice, because that's all there was. Trini guman yatityaya tisrakakshastra sadvijaha viprogamyantaka vishninam griheshvachuta-dharminam griham dvashta sahasranam mahishinam harer dvijaha Viveshaikatamam Srimad Brahmanandam Gato Yata. The learned Brahmin, joined by some local Brahmins, passed 3 guard stations and went through 3 gateways. And then he walked by the homes of Lord Krishna's faithful devotees, the Andhakas and Vrishnis, which ordinarily no one could do. He then entered one of the opulent palaces belonging to Lord Hari's 16,000 queens. And when he did so, he felt as if he were attaining the bliss of liberation. Purport. When the saintly Brahmana entered the precincts of Lord Krishna's palaces, and then actually entered one of the palaces, he completely forgot everything else. And thus his state of mind is compared to that of one who has just achieved the bliss of spiritual liberation. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes from the Padma Puran, Uttarakanda, wherein we learn that the Brahmin actually entered the palace of Rukmini. Satu Rukmin Yantapura, Rukmin Yantapura, Satu Rukmin Yantapura Dwarikshanam Tushnim Stitaha. He stood for a moment in silence at the doorway of Queen Rukmini's palace. So, as expected, the Dwarka city was highly fortified, and he had to pass through different gateways and past the houses of the Vrishnis and the Andhakas. In this way, Krishna is playing. In Vrindavan, there would be no such stuff. There wouldn't be gateways, gateways means gopurams, big gateways. There wouldn't be gateways, there wouldn't be contingents of guards. There'd be cows, peacocks, some gopis churning butter, some cowherd men, lots of mud. But there wouldn't be this opulent paraphernalia. But now Krishna is playing as a king, and the king has to keep up with expectations and have all the accoutrements of a king, all the paraphernalia. That means guards and palaces and so much. So Krishna had all of this, and Sudama Vipra was seeing it. Srila Sanatana Goswami tells us that even in the Vaikuntha world, these things are there. There are Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, even in the spiritual world. In the material world, Chatur Varnyam Maya Shishtam Gunakarma Vibhadasha. One takes the position of a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, according to the acquired, the modes of nature one has acquired, and according to the type of work he therefore does. But in the spiritual world, there are no modes of nature. There are no modes of nature. Sagunan samadhityaitam. To go to the spiritual world, one has to surpass the modes of nature. Nistraigunyo bhavarjana. Then how are there Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Shudras, and Vaishyas in the spiritual world? They're there just for Krishna's pastimes. Someone takes the role of a Brahmin, someone takes the role of a Kshatriya, someone takes the role of a Vaishya, to serve Krishna in a particular way. Someone takes the role of a cowherd boy, so cowherd boy is a Vaishya. But he doesn't take that role on account of any material modes. He takes it out of a desire to serve Krishna in a particular way. Similarly, in Dwarka, these guards have taken the role of Kshatriyas. Again, not because they're in the mode of passion, but out of a desire to serve Krishna in a particular way. Similarly, there are birds, there are trees. They're not in the mode of ignorance as in this material world. They're all transcendental. Even the ground is transcendental. Chintamani prakara sadamasu kalpavriksha lakshabritesu surabi rabi palyantam. They're all transcendentally liberated souls playing in these different roles just to create the atmosphere of the Lord's pastimes and to participate in the Lord's pastimes. So there were some devotees. Of course, this is Dwarka on earth, but Dwarka on earth and Dwarka in the spiritual world are essentially identical. When it's sometimes it's manifest here, and it's always manifest there, but it's the same Dwarka-dham. Vipro kamyandaka vrishninam griheshu achyuta dharminam. He passed by the houses of these different soldiers, guards, and none of them stopped him because they were achyuta dharminam. They were followers of infallible religious principles, or followers of the infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, they gave respect to the Brahmin Sudama. Although the Kshatriyas have power, they're subordinate to the Brahmins. The Kshatriyas have wealth and weapons and strength and power. And what did Sudama Vipra have? He was a skinny little Brahmin, with some torn cloth and 4 fistfuls of rice in a little torn packet. No weapons, no nothing. But he's superior to the guards. He's superior to the guards. Because the Brahmins are supposed to have knowledge. And knowledge trumps power. Knowledge trumps power. The head is more important than the arms. With your head you can't do a lot of work. You know, okay, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pushed the Rath Yatra cart with his head, but that was exceptional. But normally, if you want to get something done, you don't use your head physically. We say to someone, use your head, but we don't mean physically. We don't mean that you should push things around with your head. The head doesn't have much physical power. It's the arms that do things. With your arms you can take a sword and slash. With your arms you can pick things up, move things about, strangle someone. You can do so many things with your arms. So the arms are powerful. Mahabaho, mighty armed one. That's the Kshatriya. But the Brahmin is considered superior by intelligence. The arms without vision, the arms don't have vision, they can't see anything. Nor do the arms have thinking power. They have power, but they don't have the power of thought. The head has the power of thought, the head has vision, and therefore the arms are to be directed by the head. So the Brahmins represent the head of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Kshatriyas, the arms, the Vaishyas, the abdomen, the Shudras, the feet, legs. So even though the Kshatriyas were more powerful, they were achyuta dharmina. They were followers of religious principles, and therefore they respected the Brahma. In Kali Yuga, the Kshatriyas don't have respect for anyone, and there are hardly any Brahmins to respect. Maybe little perverted reflection that kings have still their advisors, presidents have their advisors, who are supposed to be intelligent. But they're more crafty than intelligent. They have strategic capability to think, but they don't think about the ultimate welfare of the king or the citizens or themselves. Therefore they're not Brahmins. They're just crafty men. But in previous times, the qualified Brahmins would advise the king, and the Kshatriyas would be followers. Griham dvashta sahasranam mihishinam harer dvijaha. And he passed by the homes of the Lord, numbering 2 times 8 times 1,000. So many homes. Even Narad Muni, when he went to Dwarka, was surprised to see so many palaces. They weren't just homes, they were palaces. Because Krishna married 16,000 queens, and for each queen he constructed a grand palace. And he entered one palace, Ekatamam Srimat, which was particularly opulent. And the Acharyas tell us that this was the palace of Queen Rukmini, the principal queen of the Lord. And Brahmanandam Gatayata, it felt as if he was getting liberation. Not the deprecated side of liberation, but liberation is indicated here as being very nice, because it's full of bliss. And actually that bliss is a kind of cessation of misery. When we get relief from misery, then we consider it bliss. Prabhupada gave the example that in previous days they would punish a criminal by taking him out to the middle of a lake and pushing him under the water until he was practically drowned. And then they would haul him up and then push him down again. Sort of the primitive precursor to waterboarding. They would put him under the water. Well, actually not primitive. Now America's developed this technique where it seems as if you're drowning. There they would actually, practically speaking, almost drown the man. And then haul him up for a moment. So that one moment of breath, that's your liberation. That one moment when you're not practically drowning, that's liberation. But that liberation doesn't compare to the personal liberation of devotional service. And therefore the acharyas have compared that liberation to the water in the hoofprint of a calf compared to the ocean of transcendental bliss. But here, those great topics aren't really involved. It's simply that the Brahmin Sudama became absorbed in the wonderful atmosphere of Dwarka, so much so that he forgot about everything else. In liberation, one forgets about all material desires, all material miseries. Tam vidya dukkha samyoga viyoga yoga sangita, in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Cessation of all material miseries, because one is absorbed in the trance of thinking of the absolute truth. So Sudama Vipra wasn't trying to achieve liberation, but he felt as though he had achieved the bliss of liberation simply by entering Dwarka. Then what to speak of the ecstasy that he'll achieve in relation to the personality of Godhead himself in loving dealings. That we'll find out about in subsequent verses. Okay. Are there some questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Maharaj, in this shloka it is mentioned that Sudama Vipra's wife went outside to the neighbors and begged.
Went out?
Beg something, beg chief rice for Krishna.
Yeah.
So generally in traditional way it is said that the brāhmana who can go outside and beg for the family members. So but here it is Sudama's wife way outside and beg something for the pleasure. So give something for Krishna. In the modern age also the modern women also think in the same thing. Modern women.
Modern women's. Okay, yes.
Thinking the same things. We will go outside, we will work, earn money and everything, and we will maintain the families. So how can we reconcile these things?
Well, we wouldn't mind if the modern women would go out and work to get something for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That would be quite a step up. But instead, they're working for sense gratification. Not even really to maintain the necessities of life, but for sense gratification. I saw a statistic from the U.S. Census Department or something, some years back, and it said that previously, some years before, if the husband and the wife were both working, it's because the husband was poor. Otherwise the wife wouldn't work. The wife would stay home, take care of the children, take care of the family affairs, take care of the home, and the husband would go work. But if the wife was working also, it meant that the husband was poor. That's why she was working. Now if husband and wife are working, it's to maintain their lifestyle. It's not that they need the wife's income to live. It's that they need her income to live at a certain level of opulence. Therefore they're both working. This is called Maya. And with this Maya, the basic things that bring happiness to family life are lost in the shuffle. The children, okay, we expect that the children don't see their father so much because he's working all day, but now they don't see their mother either because she's working all day. So just see that the mother is working, and so the child is left at home or taken to some place where they mind such children, or someone is hired to look after the kid because the mother is working, which is very important. Even the mother can't breastfeed the child because she has to go to work. Or, this is also a modern development, she has a pump so that she pumps out the milk and it's kept in some jar, and so the baby gets the benefit of the breast milk that way. That's the best that can be done because still the mother has to go to work. This is called an artificial way of life. One woman who in her younger days had been a feminist and then turned her back on that sort of loose feminist way of life she was accustomed to, became very much opposed to this idea of working hard and at the expense of attention for the husband and children. And she did a calculation that you're working, and where does your money go? So much goes for transportation, that's the number one expense. Now you have to eat out, so much money goes there. Then there's the clothes for your work, so much money goes there. Then other sundry expenses connected to your work. And at the end, after all of these expenses, you have enough money left to pay for childcare, to pay someone else to take care of your child. So what kind of fool are you? Working so hard for so little. And that's called equal rights, that not only can the husband toil away working hard for so little, now his wife can also do the same thing. So the Vedic way of life is that this hard work is not meant, this hard work of going to the office and competing with other men is not meant for the women. It doesn't bring happiness to them, it doesn't bring happiness to their children. It sometimes disrupts the family also, or rather breaks up the family, because while she's at the office, there are so many men, and some of the men will think she's pretty good, and then one thing leads to another, and then the whole thing is destroyed. Common office affairs. So this is very contrary to the Vedic way of life. In the Vedic way of life, the prime duty of the woman is to see to the children, see to the home. That will bring happiness. Of course, now it's the modern world. What can be done? But since you asked.
Maharaj, you are putting a very nice place, this problem about this woman, because I somehow do some counseling regarding finance to our congregation of devotees. And there is another picture is also coming up. And the picture that is coming up is somehow the husband himself wants the wife to go out and work.
Of course.
And that creates a very big problem, because the husband has an expectation from the wife, since the husband has taken a big loan for the flat, and the husband doesn't want, he is not able to cope up with the paying the installments for the flat, and that's why the wife has been forced to go out and work.
Yes.
So that the installments of the flats has been paid properly, and the husband wants to maintain the standard of life at the cost of the wife going out and working.
Yeah.
And that is making the life very, very difficult, because the woman doesn't want to go out and work, but because she has to be completely obedient to the husband, she is getting
it's partly
forced.
to be obedient to the husband, but it's partly who's encouraged the husband to buy this big flat. So they're partners in making one another miserable. Yes, that they, as the statistic mentioned, it's not just because they have to live, but because they have to maintain a certain standard of life. So now both have to work because otherwise they'll default on their payments and so many difficulties. So you can advise them. I think this is sound financial advice, but you can tell me. It's easier to lower your expenses than to increase your income.
The best option in this scenario, Maharaj, is we have to tell the couple that just reduce your necessities of life.
Yeah.
Just be very simple.
Yeah.
Just keep your life as simple as possible, and don't try to show yourself that you are great, because you are going to be with the group of devotees, and a sincere devotee doesn't see your material prosperity. The sincere devotee just see your spiritual commitment and spiritual advancement. Only on that basis, the attachment and the association becomes more blissful and cherishable. Yeah. So if you can do that, that will make you more happy, more blissful. At the same time with that, the children will be getting very good culture, good association, good nourishment, and a good character because of that. And that will keep you very peaceful in due course of time. This is what I...
Sound financial advice. Yeah. We're thinking that success is to make more money and spend more money. But real success is to lower our expenses so that we don't have to work so hard. That's smarter. In any business, when you increase your expenses, you have to sell so much more to meet those expenses. To sell more, you have to manufacture more, you have to advertise more, you have to hire more staff, you have to do this, you have to do that to make your business bigger. I know one friend, a group of friends, they started a restaurant and they had fantastic decor and a great menu and a tremendous, excellent staff and just everything wonderful. And they went broke within a few months because their expenses were so high that they couldn't meet those fixed expenses, the cost of the rent. They had an excellent location. So their expenses were so high that the number of customers they would have needed was beyond their reach. So they had to fold and lose their investment. And I had another friend in the same town. He had a little spice store, and in a corner of the store he set up a little counter, and his wife would cook something at home and he would serve those items as lunch for his customers, and he couldn't lose money. He didn't pay his wife anything, of course. He didn't pay himself anything. Didn't cost him anything. His rent was already the same, just the cost of a counter and the cost of the trouble of doing a little cooking and bringing something in. No staff, no this, no that, and it was a great success. So, as in business, so in family. If you keep your fixed expenses as close to zero as possible, you don't have to work so hard. And then you have, I mean, what's the cost of a psychiatrist? You know, everybody's working and going crazy, and then you have to spend more than you earn to pay for your psychiatrist, because the psychiatrist is a necessity, because otherwise you're going to go mad. So it's easier just to bring the expenses down, be happy with less, count yourself lucky. The thieves will have less to steal. The neighbors will have less to be envious about. You'll have less weighing you down. And you can save your valuable human energy for Krishna consciousness. Kāmasya nendriya prītir labho jīveta yāvata jīvasya tattva jigyasa narto yasceha karmabhi. The life's desires should be aimed at self-realization, and we should work only to keep body and soul together, not for needless necessities. Anything else? Yes?
One more doubt which I feel it. Maharaj, this is, everything has been accepted fact that this is what I suppose, this is the life. Most of the devotee also knows it, that we have to stay this type of a life. But the biggest problem that is coming up is when the couple comes and they say that we know that we have to keep our life simple, we know we have to stay our lifestyle, but the wife or the woman is very highly qualified. She is very much educated. And Maharaj, they say that whatever the education which we have done it, that is not getting utilized. And we are not getting the job satisfaction type of a thing after getting married. And just to engage whatever we have learned, to engage ourselves, that's why we have to go out and work. That is really creating a big problem.
It's called miseducation. Now it's become mandatory that the woman should be highly educated, she should become highly qualified. So to become highly qualified, first of all, she has to go to the college, and therefore at the college she loses every traditional qualification for being married. Any woman who's been through 4 years of qualification, of college, not any woman, but generally, is unacceptable for marriage, according to traditional values. And we don't need to say why. Then on top of that, yeah, now she's got a PhD, or she's got an MBA, or she's got a this or that. just to stay at home and take care of children, and she's been taught systematically that taking care of children is a waste of your valuable human energy. You're as good as any man. You should be able to head a corporation or practice law or do this or do that. And she looks at taking care of a house and children and thinks, what is this? So she's miseducated to ignore the value of what's actually valuable and to chase after things of no great importance. And Prabhupada speaks in Bhagavad Gita and says forthrightly that the demons have created a puffed up conception of womanhood. And of course she doesn't want to be subservient to a husband. She wants to be an equal partner, which is totally against the man's nature. A man doesn't want an equal partner. He wants an assistant. And the other thing is that now that she's so highly qualified, it used to be she was unfit, she had no qualifications. She could be a mother, she could be a wife, she had no other real qualifications. And so she was completely dependent on the husband. And the husband would feel that this wife is completely dependent on me. And there's a mentality that a man wants to feel that he's, somebody. So who is he? He's the man who's taking care of this wife. Well, even a dog is taking care of his wife, but still he thinks, I'm taking care of my wife. Now in the modern conception, the woman has got her own MBA, her own career, her own this, her own that. So she thinks, well, I'm not dependent on my husband. And the husband also thinks, she's not dependent on me. So what is the advantage to the woman? The advantage is that when she's 20, she looks really good, and she has earning power. And when she's 40 or 50, she looks a lot less good. And the man has come up in his career and doesn't need her earning power. And therefore the man is free to ditch the woman. And find another woman who's 20. This analysis was done by some intelligent materialist, that when a man is younger, his market value in the marriage market is less. Because although he looks good, he doesn't have much of a career, he doesn't have much money, he's not a big man in the world. So his value is kind of low. But as he grows older, he becomes, he advances in career, he advances in prestige, he's older but he looks distinguished, he's got stuff. So his market value is way higher. Maybe now he's a millionaire, or at least he's doing very well. And the woman, when she's 16, 18, 20, her market value is at an all-time high because she looks fantastic. And so many men will fight to the death to have her. And from there on, it's all downhill. When she's 30, when she's 40, when she's 50, no one's going to fight over her. She doesn't look distinguished, she looks older. She looks matronly. And as mentioned, she's not, the husband doesn't feel that I have to take care of this woman. She's got her own life, she's got her own talent, she's got her own career, and she can take care of her own 40, 50-year-old self, thank you very much, while I marry my 20-year-old secretary. So the women are becoming equals but they're becoming the losers. That's the actual position. And then when she's 40, she's 50, then she has to play the game again and try and attract a new guy in a tough market where the younger women have the edge. She's got an MBA, now what does she have to do? She has to go out and market herself again at the age of 40 or 50. And it creates unhappiness not only for the woman, but for the children, because the family is broken up and the father is over here and the mother is over there. And maybe he's got, in fact, 2 mothers or 3 mothers and 2 or 3 fathers, because marrying again and again. Na sasiddhim avapnoti na sukham na param gatim. This doesn't lead to the perfection of human life, and it doesn't even lead to material happiness.
More, sorry, I'm asking, many doubts are getting cleared. Many of the parents of our devotee parents also, they say, and they argue with one thing, that we are making our daughters very much qualified because we have a fear that if our daughter's husband doesn't take care of our daughter very nicely, if she has a good qualification, she will be able to secure herself and she will be on her own. She will not be dependable on her husband. And with that conception in their mind, they try to see to it that their daughter is qualified. Now, in that circumstance,
it's understandable, because in this age, men are such rogues that they're undependable. But it doesn't ultimately work to their benefit. It doesn't ultimately work to their benefit. Because she's so qualified that she's unqualified, maritally speaking. And therefore she's not cherished in the home the way the traditionally raised girl would be. And even her sons, if she has sons, think that, well, mom can take care of herself. She'll take care of herself, she's doing okay. So the sons neglect her, the husband neglects her. The parents also think, well, I spent for her education, she can take care of herself. So the father's not responsible, the husband's not responsible, the sons are not responsible. She's responsible. So, and the father's such a fool that he's provided for her to be in this situation. So it's the modern wisdom, but it's so often, I don't think the modern wisdom is very wise. I don't think it's very wise. In some of the places I go to, I like to chant in the graveyard. It's a very peaceful, quiet place. It's the only place in some cities where you can find some trees. And it gives a little bit of philosophical mood. Oh, in one graveyard that I visit, I'm not a ghost, but I do visit these graveyards. And in one graveyard, it's actually in a town where there's a big university. So in the graveyard, you get the association of the most distinguished people, professors and scientists. And the gravestones, if you look at the old gravestones, it's, here lies Abigail, somebody or other, devoted wife and mother. So many gravestones like that. Now it's, Abigail, somebody, and her qualifications. It's not a better position. There's a good article on the failure of feminism in India by the editor of a feminist magazine called Manushree. I don't know if anybody remembers her name. I don't. But she wrote an article called Restraint as a Feminine Strategy, which, not on all points, but on many points, is quite to the point, quite cogent. The basic theme being that Western-style feminism is a disaster for Indian women, and that Indian women who are chaste have power positions. They have a position of power. If the woman is unqualified, she doesn't have her MBA, and the husband's a rogue and whatever, then let her serve the deity for the rest of her life and she'll be happy. Why serve a corporation when you can serve Krishna? But in traditional Indian culture, the women know how to keep the husband for life because they cook nicely, they serve very faithfully, they're chaste. So the husband becomes like her slave. Now she's independent and the husband's also independent. Not an improvement. And the other downside of this, educated, qualified, so that she becomes independent, is that she gets married at 28. You know, when she's finished her education and has her career well started. Earliest 24, right? First she has to become qualified, then she can get married. You're totally fighting against biology. Because biology dictates that she should be married 16, 18, 19. That's when she wants a husband, that's when she's most qualified to have a husband, to enter marriage. And artificially you delay that, and what's going to happen? She's going to be frustrated, she's going to be miserable, she's going to be exploited. Because the same rogue man that would marry her would, in a heartbeat, have sex with her without marriage. I mean, it's just, why should I pay? Prabhupada said, why keep a cow if milk is available freely in the marketplace? So if I can have sex at the college with the woman, why should I marry her? What's the sense? Why all that expense and trouble and this and that? When just, you know, I can have my fun and not have the responsibility. That's a much better deal. But for who? For the man. And who's the loser? The woman. So the father, with the best of intentions, sends his daughter to the university so that she can be victimized. Prabhupada says in Srimad Bhagavatam, he said there's no harm in the men and women both going to the universities together. He said, but they should be married. So if you're really going to do that, you really want to send your daughter to the university, get her married first and send her to the university second. But that's out of the question. So they spoil her life first at the university and then think about getting her married when she's 25, 26. And then they have children when they're 32, which has medical problems. the epidemic of Down's syndrome, I'm told, is related to the age at which a woman first has her first child. If she's older when she has her first child, beyond a certain age, then the chances of Down syndrome skyrocket. Down syndrome used to be very rare, now it's very common. Okay. Yes, 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 yes.
Yes. I wanted to clear many doubts. Maharaj, many times, many Matajis and many families, they argue with one thing, that why in the scripture it is so much emphasis of the chastity of a woman, why it is not so much emphasis of the chastity of a man for the woman?
Good question. Maybe it's because the men are hopeless, I don't know. For the men also it's emphasized, brahmachari guru kule vasandanta gururhitam. He should be brahmachari. For the women we say sadhvi, for the men we say brahmachari. So it's not that it's not there. They should all have brahmachari training. Brahmachari training means they go to school, and school doesn't mean they go to school and have sex like cats and dogs. That's your modern school. That the men get an education in degradation, in uncontrolled senses. Adantago bi vishatam tamishram. They get an education in chewing the chewed again and again. But real education means that they would be trained. Sama, Dhamma, Tapa, Socham. They would be trained in vasandanta gururitam, controlling their senses. And then they would be qualified to be the leaders of human society, or at least to be members of human society. Now you take the chief men and they can't control their senses. They may be big scientists, they may be big professors, they may be big presidents and senators, but they can't control their senses. And so they become cats and dogs. But the traditional education was that the men were supposed to be, first of all, self-controlled and responsible. The trained brahmachari would become a responsible householder. Now the thought is, well, why should we train our boys as brahmacharis? They're going to get married anyway and they need to make a living and we need practical education. But without brahmachari training, they're unfit to become householders. Because they don't know how to control their senses. And therefore he's unfit to be what he's supposed to be, which is the spiritual master of the wife. He's unfit because he wasn't trained as a brahmachari. What mattered was classes and classes and competition and career. But he never learned how to be a human being. So he's a cat or a dog with an MBA. Because he can't control his senses. So the best thing for the boys is to become brahmacharis. The best thing for the girls is to have husbands who are trained as brahmacharis. Best thing for the parents is to have sons or sons-in-laws who are trained as brahmacharis.
They argue this way, that a woman is supposed to be completely chaste to the husband. But a man can have many wives. So how can the man can be chaste to one woman, but the woman has to be chaste only to one man? This is not equal. This is not proper.
No, it's not equal. It's definitely not equal. But Prabhupada, what he often said was that the number of women in need of wives will be more, of husbands will be more. And so one man, he said it's a problem. You have more women who want to be married than men who want to be married. So he said, all right, the man can have more than one wife. He said, anyway, he's spoiled anyway, might as well. Married life means he's spoiled. So anyway, he's already spoiled, let him marry twice. But the condition is that he has to maintain as many wives. It's not just that it's a license for sense gratification, but he has the responsibility. Just like Krishna, he had 16,000 wives, but each one of them had a palace. So you can have as many wives as you want, but you have to build a palace for each one. Not just sense gratification. It was responsible, it wasn't irresponsible life. That, so many wives. It was extra responsibility also. Is that okay? Okay, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.